Hey, welcome to your weekly video. We are going to be talking about the Renaissance. We're going to continue that. We're going to cover Unit 7.09 and 7.14. Make sure you're reading the content in Unit 7. We also have read-along videos for you. The link can be found in the semester checklist that is linked in your content. The 7.14 quiz is due this Friday. So the big idea of the Renaissance was a magnificent cultural rebirth of creativity, intellectualism, and it spread throughout Europe from the 14th to the 17th centuries. Today, you talked about Renaissance painting last week. We're going to talk about Renaissance sculpture this week. Sculpture began in Florence. It's where the Renaissance began, in Florence, Italy. They took inspiration from both classical Greek and Roman styles, combined those to make magnificent artwork. One in particular, Michelangelo, who you've heard of before, became one of the greatest sculptors of this or any age. His 14-foot tall David, you can kind of see his face. He's kind of sizing up the enemy before the fight. They did like a lifelike quality, so they were the ones who went ahead and put in eyes and facial expressions and a lot more detail to make it feel a little bit more realistic. Michelangelo studied anatomy and proportion, and he knew that would help him make things look more real, more natural. You can see the veins in the hand. You can see the veins in the neck. So this all helps him look a little more like you and me. They do consider him perfection, dignity, harmony of the nude human body with perfect proportions. He is in what you talked about last week, the contrapposto pose, where that a lot of weight is on one leg. So with looking at these, just reviewing contrapposto, do any of these look like they are standing in contrapposto? So we'll take a look at these and see what you think. And then I've got another set for you. How about these? And then let's see how you did. So those on the left are, in fact, standing in contrapposto. Those on the right are not. So classical artists often sculpted nudes to bring attention and beauty to the human figure. So they wanted to honor the beauty of the human form. Michelangelo was commissioned to create this Pietà, or St. Peter's Basilica. So it's that moment where Mary cradles and mourns the death of Jesus. Michelangelo created this one. The Pietà is, which means pity in Italian, is a common religious theme for artists of the time. In this one, they did use the pyramid configuration, so that helps to create harmony and stability because you've got that bigger base. It also creates visual interest. He did make Mary much larger than Jesus, but when you first look at it, you don't really notice that. He's using that for visual stability and for emphasis. A fun fact about this one, Michelangelo didn't really sign his work, but he was in St. Peter's and saw some visitors looking at his sculpture, and they guessed that a different artist did it, and that really upset him. So he snuck back in and carved into the sash on Mary that Michelangelo Boronati Florentine made this. So Michelangelo of Florence. So I want you to pause the video and take 3 minutes for each of these virtual field trips. One is of the Sistine Chapel. One is of St. Peter's Basilica. The St. Peter's is about 20 minutes long, so don't take that long. Well, you can actually, because we're not in a live class, so take as long as you want in St. Peter's. And just take a look around. Let me know what you think. All right, what did you think about St. Peter's Basilica? What is maybe the thing that stands out to you the most? For me, it is the sheer size of it made an impression on me. I went to Italy last September, so the pictures on the top left are from inside St. Peter's, so you can see the people in that middle one to see the scale. The Pietà on the left is now behind glass, because there was someone tried, I forget how long ago it was, but uh, tried to destroy it. On the bottom, on the left, is St. Peter's from two different angles outside at night. I took a night photography tour, and this was one of the things that we shot. So I did get to see David. He is in Florence, inside the Galleria of Accademia. And I did get to go in the Sistine Chapel, so that is that bottom picture on the right. You don't get to take pictures in the Sistine Chapel, and you don't get to talk. So they give these to you before you walk in that kind of map out what is in each panel. On the other side, it gives a little more description. So that is why that's the only picture I have for you. All right, now we're going to jump to Renaissance in the Netherlands. We're just going to talk about one artist, but we want to make a pit stop here. We're going to talk about Peter Bruegel the Elder. His compositions were typically complex, so you can see all of the things that he has going on. And he did like to use strong diagonal lines, as you can see. With the hill, there's a diagonal line. With the trees, diagonal lines. And that pulls your eye through the painting. What technique did Peter Bruegel the Elder use to create a sense of space in Hunters in the Snow? Do you think it was two-point perspective, or do you think it was atmospheric perspective? If you're not reading your content, you may not know this one yet, but you'll know that after we get finished right here. All right, let me know how you did. So that is atmospheric perspective, and what atmospheric perspective is when objects in the front that are closer to you, they are brighter, they're more detailed, they're bigger. And as you get back further into the painting at the back, those items are smaller, there's less detail, and the colors are more muted. And you see atmospheric perspective if you are in Colorado and you're looking out at the mountains, or you're at anywhere you can see far away. You can see that the things farther from you are a little more muted, and things closer to you are bigger and more detailed. All right, now I want you to take 2 minutes and Google genre in art. That's how you pronounce G-E-N-R-E, a genre. So pause the video. This will help you in the next question I've got for you. Welcome back. All right, so what Northern Renaissance characteristic did Peter Bruegel the Elder incorporate in his paintings? Was it A, religious symbolism because the church was his major patron? Or was it B, genre was one of Bruegel's main subjects for paintings? It was B, genre was one of his main subjects. So genre is just everyday life, so scenes from everyday life. All right, now we're going to jump over into Spain and take a look at how the Renaissance affected those artists there. So mannerism is a style of Renaissance art from the later end of the Renaissance. It makes a clear shift. Mannerists stayed away from balanced and natural style of their Italian predecessors. With a little bit of history, or if you read in your content, why do you think these artists wanted to break away from the balance and natural style of those Italian Renaissance artists before them? So some historical context. The Mannerist movement occurred during a time of upheaval. It was the Reformation, there was the plague, there was the sack of Rome. Some new scientific discoveries from Magellan and Columbus challenged the idea that Europe was the center of the world. So it was an unsettling time for them. So composition, perspective, and scale, they wanted to distort all of those things. They wanted to manipulate all of those things. The figures are elegant, sometimes disturbing, but they're oddly long and exaggerated. Sometimes they're twisted. They have complex compositions and sometimes put their figures in confusing settings. El Greco was a major painter of the time. They used vivid colors and elongated figures, again, like we talked about, in confusing spaces. So this particular painting, it's in two parts. So the top is heaven, and it represents the bright heavens unwrapping, and it is done in the Mannerist style. The bottom half is on earth. So this is the burial And so these are more done in a more realistic style. So he wanted to mix those two things together, with heaven being more mannerist, and then the actual funeral, the burial, being in more traditional styles. So how did Spanish artist El Greco incorporate mannerist characteristics of the late Renaissance into his paintings? Was it A, incorporated a subtle light source that bathed figures in light, or B, he painted elongated figures in ambiguous space? What do you think on that one? If you said B, good job, because we can tell it's the elongated figures at the top part, with this space is quite ambiguous, a little bit confusing. All right, so another term for this time, sorry, a little fast forward there for you. Mini fast forward. What do you think chiaroscuro is? It is a technique that they use, I'll give you that. It's a use of strong contrast between light and dark. Usually you can see the light source. A lot of times you can see the light source. So there's a bold contrast, and it affects the whole composition. So not just a small portion, but the whole thing. Tintoretto was an artist who was great at using chiaroscuro. In the Last Supper, you can see Jesus, the light radiating from his head. It has many mannerist conventions, but we're going to talk about the chiaroscuro. The light there lights the room and casts deep shadows on the figures. Some say that the technique makes painted objects look solid. The dining table and the figures behind it create a strong diagonal that leads the eye to Jesus and then into the darkness. So his paintings are pulling your eye in a destined direction. All right, how about this? Which sentence correctly describes an aspect of oil painting in general? So would it be A, artist mix only small amounts of paint because oil paint can't be stored? Or B, artists create rich, glowing colors with transparent glazes? It would be B. So if you said B, good job. So an aspect of oil painting is that artists can use it to create rich, glowing colors with transparent glazes. All right, I've got a couple of different options for enrichment for you if you want to dive a little deeper. So this first one is a video. Do you know why the Sistine Chapel was outrageous? Again, the link will be in the helpful links list. All right, let me open this up a little bit and get over here in my slides for you. I have a choice board for you. So this has puzzles, it has drawing videos, and even at the bottom has a couple of holiday crafts, like you could make some things as gifts. You can see that there's a drawing in there of Michelangelo, the Mona Lisa. There's some architectural drawings in there, working more with perspective. There are a couple that introduce you to 2-point perspective. So if you're up for a challenge, jump in on that one. And remember to share these on your teacher's portfolio Padlet if you create them. Just some reminders, 7.14 quiz is due this Friday. Make sure you read that content right. There is still time to turn in your 2.05 project if you haven't already. And again, all your art teachers have open office every Friday at 1 o'clock. So come with any questions you have, anything that you need clarified. And we look forward to seeing you. Y'all, good luck on your quiz.